All right. Hi. Welcome to another episode of the Bridging Divides podcast, where we give you the advice, tools, and resources to be able to build the bridge to success in your lives. I am super excited to bring our guest today, Nora Johnson. She is one of my absolute favorite people. I love her energy and just how loving and amazing she is. Nora, welcome. We're super excited to have you.
Thank you. It's an honor for you to ask me.
Oh, an honor.
I don't know if I'm excited or I'm like, but it's good. I'm just being funny, but yes.
Yeah. No, it's I appreciate the humor. Well, hey, yeah, we're super excited to have you. And I'm super excited to talk about your experience with business and, the trials that you've overcome, how you have gotten into it. Have had amazing success with your company. What oils? What's the name of your company again?
My Oil Connection.
My Oil Connection. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Just hearing about your success and the hustle and everything to be able to get that going has just been. I love your story, and so I know that we will also definitely love your story, and so I'm excited to dive into it. So I want you to brag a little.
Okay.
So, what have been some of the accomplishments that you consider kind of those key accomplishments in your life?
Number one is just, I can do this. Like I did something great of setting goals and making something happen within my company. There was a need that I had. We went through that 2008 crisis and lost a house that we just built. My husband's business was in half, so I kind of had to step up a little bit.
Yeah.
He could have stepped up, but I decided, let's do this way, and he supported me. So it really was a team effort.
I love that.
We met constantly, weekly with the family, and said, here's what we're doing together, but Mom's going to be doing this.
Cool.
So it really was a team effort. It wasn't all me. So my husband was on board. He was the quiet behind the scenes. Whatever my wife needs to do, make this happen, I'm right there with you. He loved what I did anyway, but he wasn't the mouth or the face of it.
Mm-hmm.
So. And
I think that you kind of you touched on a really important principle, which is you don't have to do it alone. When and not to say like, you can't strike out on your own and take the road less traveled. Like that's important and that's good. But to be able to have a team behind you and that support behind you just raises you to a next level of success that you may not have had just on your own, or working against your partner.
Exactly.
If it's just like, oh no, this sucks, like
Well,
like, why are you doing this?
Statistics have found when you have a support team, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a family, whatever situation you're in, when you have a support team, you actually will succeed more, like better. The odds are against you if you don't. So it's better to have a support team. And it just happened to be my husband and my family. They're all like, yeah, my kids.
I love that.
So.
And can you tell us a little bit about just how successful you've been in your company?
Well,
give us some numbers, the dirty details here. Like
I've hit the top 8% of those that do the business.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I make over $200,000 a year doing what I do, and
so
most
cool.
People are like, "Oh, you do?" Like, I've had people.
This is a real thing.
Yeah,
like you can actually make money.
This isn't Nora's little hobby, and she joined a networking group just to expand it. I mean, I needed to expand myself and in the community. And that's how I met you, was through a networking group. And so when people hear, they're like, what? Yeah, they are surprised. Because usually women, okay, it's my little hobby. But my husband didn't work for 3 years, but that wasn't serving him.
Yeah.
And so he's now building his own business. We had to go through some counseling for that. Like how does that work? How does that fit? But it was all good. We all needed it. And counseling isn't just for when you have problems. It's sometimes when you need to navigate tough stuff, like self stuff that has happened to you in your life. So it really was beneficial and like, ooh, another discovery, right?
Absolutely. So. I think, we're all going through life and collecting all of this mud and gunk from the negative feelings and the negative influences that we have around us. And we need to periodically clean all that crap off. And sometimes we can't do that alone. So
Exactly.
I love that about being able to seek professional help before you crash your car because you can't see anything with all the crap that's
Exactly.
on there, you know. So I think that that's really, really important. But okay, fun time here. I love this question. What is something that no one or very few know about you?
Well, I was in 8 pageants, so I love to sing. So that
Okay.
got me through
So
college.
beauty pageants?
Yeah, like you wear a swimsuit out on the stage and get,
I don't look too good in a one
critiqued.
piece, so that's why I
So
didn't
it
do
was
that.
the Miss America program. So it was
There
through
you
that, not Miss
go.
USA. Miss USA is more beauty and they don't have a talent portion.
Oh,
So Miss
interesting.
America does the talent portion. So I was a music major in high school. So
Awesome.
every pageant I won the talent and then interview, all that stuff. It's just well-rounded person. But I
I
did
love
it
that.
because I didn't have any way to pay for college beyond high
So
school.
I mean,
It paid for college. I never
I
had to
didn't
have
realize that it could make money.
yeah. So I was like, what am I gonna do? There was a local pageant in the area. I'm like, might as well. I could win a couple grand
That's so freaking
for
cool.
about 6 weeks of work, and then work on a song. It really upped my game, my stage presence,
Yeah.
talking. It just made me a better individual, and I loved it. And so
That's so great.
8 pageants put me through 3 years of school. And what I would
There
do
you
is
go.
you'd win the big chunk of money, and I'd pay my room and board for that whole semester.
Oh,
So
there
I'm like,
you
here you
go.
go. Here's my $800, $1,000, whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
I'm kind of older now. Like 1,500 a month rent is not. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Rent's crazy
I
right now.
don't think most people. It's not something I talk about or.
That's so cool. I love hearing that though because I I am all about the unconventional kind of against the norm kind of methods of earning a living, and I mean not like selling drugs or anything, but you know,
Thinking outside the box.
hey, good, they have good business people, you know.
Who thought what? Every college I went to Miss. I was in Miss Graham County. I was in Miss Phoenix because I was just like, okay, what pageant am I
Yeah.
in this area? So
That's so cool.
yeah,
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic, and it's cool too because you talked about some of the skills that you learned and just how important they are for life in general. But
exactly.
with business, I love talking about business and entrepreneurship because I think that the core principles and values that will help you be a truly successful business person can be applied to any aspect of your life. Hard
Exactly.
work, grit, building relationships, being able to communicate properly with people. Those are aspects of your life, like those are principles that you can apply to any part of your life. You know.
Exactly.
And so that's why I love talking about that sort of thing. So, we talked a little bit about this, but we want to hear about your business. You know, what divide are you bridging? This is the Bridging Divides podcast. So what problems are there out there that you are fixing because of what you're doing?
I love this question because it opened up my eyes to really what I'm doing. It made me think like, oh, but I started because I had a need with my own family
Mm-hmm.
and it solved it. And I also thought, what the heck? How many other mothers, how many other moms, young moms looking for solutions and it's not there and they're frustrated, they're struggling with the healthcare system. We need it, but sometimes it doesn't fulfill the need or it makes things worse with the side effects. So using just simple frankincense improved the mood of my child to, I didn't leave her for a whole year. I was that worried about her.
Yeah.
And so when I had such a great experience with using an essential oil, it kind of opened my eyes to, I need to share this. I need to teach and educate people. It may not be exactly what I did, but at least they open and go, there's other options out there.
Yeah.
And it may not even be essential oils, but there's like, oh, it really just empowers moms, families. That's what I'm looking for. I can take the power back. I am not at the mercy of whatever someone tells me. I can research. I can get a second opinion. I can try something little unconventional, not normal, and wow, it has made all the difference.
Yeah. And I used to be kind of the whole like, essential oils, like, it's like somebody in their back room, like swinging crystals around and, crushing up stuff. It's just like I had this like image in my mind, like, what the heck, like witch doctor stuff. But it's just like you look at the natural plants and elements that these things come from, the eucalyptus and peppermint and lavender and all of these different things that they have all of these medicinal benefits to just keep your body operating in the way that it should. I mean, it's not going to take the place of eating like crap and like treating your body horrible, but you give your body what it needs. This is an amazing machine that we inhabit, and it can self-heal and take care of itself if we give it what it needs. Exactly. And so that's where I'm just like, yeah, dude, I'm all on board with.
Well, it's funny you say that because my husband actually brought the oils home, and I thought, are you kidding me?
It's like, oh gosh.
Yeah, embarrassing.
Honey, what are you doing?
And then I said, I'm not using them.
Yeah.
And 2 months went by. I burned myself, used lavender. I'm like, oh, it actually works. He told me how to use it because that's one thing. People don't understand how to use it, so I'm good at that. That's where I teach and educate. Hold your hand.
Hey, you don't have to draw a pentagram to be able to access the powers of the... Nothing crazy like that. No, and I think that's fantastic. You touched on something that I've kind of always had a question about. And so I actually kind of want to ask you on this because I'm sure other people do as well. Mood. How do some of these affect mood?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't understand that either. And like I said, I was like, really? Like I was the big eye roll. Like, oh my gosh, we are not using these.
Yeah.
And even if you did, I would never tell anybody. I don't want anybody to think I'm weird.
Yeah.
This is kooky. But after you've had some great experiences, I was like, okay, I know how people are feeling. Mm-hmm. Most of the people, if they don't know, I'm just patient with people. But I understand now that, okay, let's just think about hardcore drugs. Mm-hmm. Cocaine. Why do people snort cocaine? Mm-hmm. It gets to the limbic system. The smell has something to do with it. Aromatically smelling it gets it to the olfactory nerve that's right here at the end of your nose. And then it goes through some other nerves. And then it goes into the limbic system, which is the emotional center of the brain.
Interesting.
So when you get it there, and then it delivers through the body. That's why whatever oil you connect with or even don't connect with, because you either really, really hate it or you really, really love it. It could go both ways, that you need it, or you just simply, as you start using them, we're used to chemicals, we're used to the fake.
Yeah.
We have to kind of
detox.
Yeah, cleanse that out of us because it's habits, it's what you're used to. Mm-hmm. Where I would go, oh, that smell, but now I love them.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
That's one way it works.
Because I know that they use like citrus oils in hospitals, like they diffuse it to be able to reduce the stress level of the employee, like in emergency rooms. You talk about high stress job. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Vanderbilt has a study with my company's oils. Not all oils are made the same.
Which is just for everybody.
doTERRA.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. So it's the largest essential oil company.
That's awesome.
It's been around for 15 years.
Man, that's quite the track record. That's great. No, that's fantastic, and that's awesome. Like I love hearing about. I'm very much, modern medicine's great, but if I don't have to go to the doctor, I don't like to. If I don't have to take medicine, I don't like to. I very much, do preventative maintenance, instead of reactive maintenance, on our bodies. And I think a lot
of that.
Thank
there's both. It really should be married
100%.
together.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be one or the other or opposites of don't come near. It should be
like demonizing the other kind of opinion.
No, there's a purpose for all. It's like if you have a heart problem, okay, now we're going to do this. No, go to the doctor, get a stent. And then let's start looking at some natural things that can help.
To maintain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe change the lifestyle. So there's a happy medium in both. And they should coincide.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. So I really want to dive into the principles that you have applied to that have led to your success. Because again, being able to make a multiple six-figure income, that's very impressive for anybody, like, and that I love hearing that. Like, I gain inspiration from that, and so I want to know kind of what's the secret sauce for Nora, what are the principles, that have led to that. One of the questions I want to start with is, how have you viewed success, and how has that kind of changed? What did you view success as, and how has that kind of changed and morphed into, what you view success as now?
So getting started with anything I've ever done, it was, you think if you reach a status or you make so much money, as a kid, coming from a family that we had a big family, and money just wasn't like, it was
sack lunches, hand-me-downs.
Yes, exactly. I always heard we don't have enough money for that. So
Yeah,
mindset about money was something I had to overcome. So when I started or did this, it was like, oh, if I make this much money, kind of I'll be happy or I'll be set. But as I've learned, as I've studied strengths, my uniqueness is what people will be attracted to and what I have to offer. And coming from my background and kind of changing my thinking and working on it, that has been where I've understood, like, you know what? Not everybody's going to like me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to want to do essential oils, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Where at first I took it as personal.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That makes sense? And now I'm like, it's
absolutely.
okay. It's okay. I can say no to myself. Like, I'm not working with you. Or I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Because you can.
My vibe's going to attract my tribe.
I love
and
that.
if my thinking is off on business, money, all that, and my understanding what my uniqueness is, that's what makes a difference. And I find success has been, I truly, in my heart, have just wanted to help people.
Yeah.
But not give everything away. Because there's some people that do that because they don't have they'll only like me if I give it away. But if I see someone in need, I'm like, someone had, a lump on their breast and they told me about it, I'm like, just take this bottle of frankincense.
See how it goes, kind of thing.
And with no ties to the outcome.
Yeah.
I think that was huge too. Of, here, I have an offering. If they say no or take it, it's okay. It wasn't for them.
Yeah.
For me, I did everything right with follow-up. I mean, there's a systems in place.
And I think that you touched on something very important, is that being detached from the outcome is actually, I've read sales books and everything. Like, that's a very, very important mindset that you need to start out with, because then you don't reek of desperation when you're talking to people.
Yes, so
you
true.
don't push. You don't, because people don't like to be backed into a corner. They start to go into the fight or flight mentality. Like, they've done studies about sales and different things like that. One of my favorite books, Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff, talks about the neurofinance. That's what he calls it. It really goes into the psychology of being able to, frame things and talk to people. And fantastic book. At any rate, though, of being able to be detached from that outcome, I think also allows you to not burn out and stress. Someone says no, and instead of going, oh, well, the world is ending now. I knew I shouldn't have done this, and I knew that this was stupid, and that, totally invalidates everything that you've been trying to create. But when you are detached from that, then there's none of that.
It's really
catastrophizing.
What I've done is I just want, how can I serve that person best?
Yeah.
And my intention is always pure and honest. And I've had people come back to me, and who I work with, my sister as well, that have known us, and their words come back has meant a lot to both of us. That we asked them, why do you work with us? And we really want to know. We want some feedback. And really, is like, I can trust you.
I love
and that really just touches me, and I can't believe I'm like getting emotional about it. But I was like, okay, if I'm just myself, and they can feel safe, which is very important, that I can tell Nora, because how many people have shared me with some things that are very raw, real, tough. They've shared me, and that's something I don't take lightly. So I think that is one of the core things, is people can trust me.
Oh, I love that. And when you genuinely, truly listen to somebody to find out what they need, not only are you going to, eventually do what you need, a sale or whatever it is, but when you truly, genuinely listen to somebody, they will feel taken care of instead of taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And I think
that is so true.
that is so, so important, that we listen. For goodness sakes, freaking listen to the people. I mean, take the personal relationship side out of it. You look at it strictly from a business perspective. If you're not listening to your dang consumer, you're not going to find out what they want.
Right.
You're going to be banging your head against the wall trying to figure out, like, why isn't my business working? But I mean, our slogan is, it's not just business, it's all personal. And so I firmly believe that business is very, very intrinsically tied to personal, your personal outcome and feelings and everything like that. But I absolutely love that. One of our principles is complete their bridge. One of the building blocks of the bridge strategy, the program that I have and whatnot.
Well, that ties with, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Plus, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Bingo.
Both of those.
Yep. And bridges go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you complete somebody else's bridge,
you bring value,
it comes back to you.
You should get value back.
Absolutely. And it's interesting too, because you kind of touched on something. You should get value back, right? I think that so often we view getting something, receiving something, as, oh, no, I shouldn't do that. I don't want to receive money for what I'm doing because money's evil. Or, it's interesting too, because people take that to the extreme, and most people, when they get a compliment, they don't say thank you. They go, oh, no. It's like, would you just let me give you a compliment, please? And accept it, receive it. And I think that we need to do the same thing with business. You touched on giving value and making sure that you are bringing something of value to somebody else. But being able to feel like you're able to receive it back is vital for your success. The Go-Giver, one of my favorite books. Have you read that?
Yes.
Oh, it's fantastic. They talk about the law of receptivity, being able to be open to what comes back your way. And I fully believe in the principle that the more you have, the more you can give. So why not be open to receiving more so you can give more?
Abundance mindset, for sure.
Absolutely. So you talked about some of the limiting beliefs that have kind of inhibited you in your success. And I think that you touched on one that I want to go over, which is the perception of money. And it's interesting because so again, one of the building blocks, the first building block in our program in the bridge strategy is blueprint, which it's all about what goes on up here. What's the plan, and what are the mental stumbling blocks that you need to get past, right? So, for example, the view on money, it's this bad thing, that it's, kind of a thing that people shouldn't have if they want to be a good person. If you can't get over that before starting a business, even if you do make money, you'll feel guilty about it.
You could lose it.
And you can lose it. And it's this, you have this fear around it that accompanies that mindset. But when you view it as a tool, when you view money as a tool instead of this evil thing, that all of a sudden that unlocks, like, oh, wait a second. The more of this that I have, the more I can build what I'm doing, and the more lives that I can impact, and the more influence I can have to bless the lives around me. That was one for me personally that I've had to overcome, but I really like that you touched on that. What you had mentioned something else, knowing your strengths. Can you go over that limiting belief that kind of, what you have, kind of the lesson you have now, the lesson you've learned, and where you're at now mentally, and how did that change from what it was before?
So just to give you a little background, before I knew and took the Gallup Strength Test, I looked at myself as, I knew that I got to see all sides, and I took it as a weakness. So then when I was introduced to Gallup Strengths and took the test, my number one was harmony. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. I like to see all sides, and I like to see a consensus.
Yeah.
But I also have belief and futuristic and maximizer.
Yeah.
So looking to the future is huge for me.
I love the Gallup Strength Test. By the way, I'll put a link in the description so where you can go and you can find out more about that and how to take it. The Gallup Strength Test was a huge unlock for me.
Yes.
To go, oh my gosh, I'm awesome. Not in a conceited way, but everybody is awesome.
Well, it brings
for
up,
their own unique
that's my word,
ways.
Uniqueness. I bring my uniqueness to the situation where I didn't feel that I had the uniqueness to bring. I didn't have the confidence.
Or it was like that your uniqueness, see, now I'm going to get emotional, that your uniqueness was not of as much value
Exactly.
as somebody else's. That was for me where I just like, oh my gosh, like I have been so mean to myself. And it's so hard to get past that. But when you recognize that you have unique value and that you are amazing, you're going to do incredible things and lean into those strengths that you have, because that is what people are going to love and what people are going to connect to. And your vibe attracts your tribe, like you said. And that is what is going to get you there, because you now all of a sudden have the confidence to be who you are.
Exactly.
Amazing.
So the funny part is I took the test 3 times because I thought I could
I don't want this strength.
Yeah, like that's a weakness. How could it be that?
Yeah.
I don't see a leader having harmony at all. So I learn a bunch. I take some other courses, read more books, and I'm like, okay, I'll take it again. And there it was again. Top 1. I did it again. I waited like 6 months to 8 months.
Gosh,
I'm like, I'm going to outgrow this. There it was again.
Oh.
I had to come to grips, and then I went to a strengths coach, and then I worked with another strengths coach that and it really is, I have been able to just stand up in confidence and go, oh, this is great. And once I came to that realization, I've had people come to me and say, okay, Nora, I don't have harmony in my strengths at all. I need yours right now. And I'm like,
I need what you have to offer.
Yeah, I need to see it in your light. I need to see it. How would I work with this person? Because I'm about ready to tell her off, and she ain't going to handle that very well. So I need your harmony.
No,
so I'm like...
The mediator, to be able to... You know how valuable that is? Oh my gosh. Like there are careers specifically to be a conflict mediator, to go in and to be able to negotiate with companies. Like that is such a valuable skill. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about was, and you touched on it a little bit, and I could see how you have implemented this, but just so that we're like clear, I want to ask what, or better yet, how has taking initiative in your journey helped you be successful, and how have you taken initiative in your success journey?
Well, I'm a goal setter. If I don't have something on my wall, I don't have it written out. I've always been that way. So funny thing is, I sucked my thumb until 3rd grade. And the way I overcame that was I made a chart.
Oh my goodness.
And I quit in one day. And how did I do that?
In 3rd grade?
Yes.
That's so amazing. Dude, okay, please
Well,
continue.
the funny thing is they said, oh, we'll buy you a bike. That didn't motivate me. They put hot sauce and stuff on my thumb. To this day, I love hot sauce. I love salsa, right? And they did a few other things, but finally they found what motivated me. And it
beating.
was...
Just kidding. Sorry. Quickly.
It actually was, they said, you can't play with friends anymore. Most people will go, that's crazy, mean, rude, right? As a parent, I'm like, no, I love people.
Yeah.
I had my favorite friends. I was very social.
Same.
Going to those networking groups also fulfills
energized.
People. Yes. I'm not an introvert. I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
And so when they said, you cannot go with friends anymore, I was like, what? So I made a chart, and took one day to quit. How many years have they been trying? So that was a learning thing for me too in a life, is find what motivates people. Dangle the carrot.
Yeah. And I think that also it's interesting because that goes back to completing other people's bridges, which is find what it is that they want, that they need.
Exactly.
And then be able to
deliver
that.
How it applies to my business is not only for myself, when I'm working with someone, okay, what are we working on? And how serious are you? And what do you want this to look like? So you ask them. And sometimes people don't care. So I'm like, I don't know if I can help you then, if that's really not a big deal. I mean, it sounds like a great idea. Great. But if someone's very serious and they want this, and this, whether it's financial health, mental health, emotional health, or all of it, I've got something to offer them.
You've got an oil for that?
I've got an oil for that.
That's her tagline. That's fantastic. No, and I think that goes back to blueprint, which is if you don't truly want what it is that you're going after, you're not even going to get past the door, exactly. let alone past the finish line. You have to start with that internal decision of, yes, I want this, I'm going to do it. And then that leads into that initiative, which that's the second building block, is lay the first brick. Bridges are built from two sides, but you got to lay the first brick. And I know you guys have heard me say that 5,000 times, but yeah, no, I love that. I love that principle, and being able to talk to your clients and essentially instill that, or kind of gauge where they're at with that initiative, to be able to say, okay, if you're there, let's roll, let's get it done. I think that's fantastic. You talked about your unique strengths, which I think is fantastic. I know that for me, what I viewed as, which is so funny because I think that I'm also ADD, and so you notice I just like cut myself off in the middle of a sentence. I do that all the time. But things that I viewed as weaknesses before actually have been some of my greatest strengths. And I believe that we have been designed with, I would say, these characteristics of ourselves. And I think that we can view them as weaknesses, or it's almost like they can be if they're applied in the wrong way. Like for me, I am a jump in the pool head first kind of a guy, whether or not I know there's water there, until I'm in the middle of the air. And it's like, oh, wait a second, maybe I should have thought about that. And I always viewed that as, why can't you sit still? Why can't you think before you act? I was very accident prone as a kid. I mean, I was always accidentally, my catchphrase was, it was an accident, and my parents would get on me all the time. Like, you say that all the time. But, I later viewed that decisive action is very valuable. My wife is very good at, balancing me out, so she doesn't tell me not to dive in. She'll say, at least put on this helmet before you do it. So it's like we kind of balance each other out in that sense, and it's good to have a soundboard. You mentioned strengths, your strengths and your husband's. Can you talk about how those have gone together for you two? Kind of what have yours been and what has his been, to be able to kind of be a good team?
Well, what's funny is his number one is also harmony.
Dude, that's so funny.
But as I've talked to strengths coach, somebody has to take on the dominant role sometimes in decision making and making things happen. But he's also context. He looks back, I look forward.
Interesting.
And so harmony does help both of us, because
that's cool.
We're in a situation that I've already shared. Okay, so here's here's an idea. What do you think about this? I do go to him with ideas a lot, and he goes, "Oh no, another idea."
That's
But
my wife.
But he likes them all, because he knows that he's like, wow, you have vision,
Love
where
that.
his vision is looking back. So I always say, okay, now I understand it, because at first I was like, that's so annoying.
Yeah.
Stop, like think forward,
Yeah,
dude.
well, I know, I do that too.
But now I understand it. So not only does strengths help you understand you, but the people you're working with, the people you live with. I knew right away, one of my daughters, her number one thing, if she says she's going to do it, she's going to do it. Guess what her number one is? Responsibility.
Yeah.
From age 8, 9, 10, I'm like, I could ask her to do something. I know she's going to do it.
That's so funny. So there's 34, right? 34 clips and strengths. Number 34 for me is discipline. And so, hence why, seriously, Kayla, you guys can't see her, but she's behind the camera. Why I hired her to do the filming and the editing and the posting and the managing of all that is because that is where I
that's where you hire out.
Yeah.
What you're not good at. And so, and they say if you are trying to do your bottom 5, you get, wears you out. Your energy sucker. And guess what? Mine is analytical. I should not be doing anything numbers. That's why I am so thankful I have a tax person, a CPA. Yeah. I'm like, I just turn it over to you, because how many times have I tried to do taxes and I get a headache? It takes me 3 weeks instead of 2 days.
And that's okay. Like that's what we have to realize, is that it's just as important to know where you fall short as where you shine. Like you have to have both, because that's how you can better succeed. Which touches on an interesting point, actually, which we'll go here with the conversation. Is one of the building blocks we have is reinforce and review. That's the last of the 5 building blocks of the bridge strategy. So we've got blueprint, lay the first brick. It's all about initiative. Lean in. That's number 3. Lean into your strengths and who you are. Complete their bridge. It's all about giving value. Number 5 is reinforce and review, which is looking back on what you've done. Like you say, your husband is really good at that. And what do you need to improve? What have the mistakes been? What have the successes been? And it's just as important to recognize one as it is the other, because you can reinforce the good, and then you can kind of cut out the bad and move forward. So how have you been able to look back and seen those mistakes? Or better yet, what have been some of those mistakes that you have made in the past that we can learn from, so that we don't fall into those traps as well?
Well, family-wise, business-wise, this ties to everything. Ask and don't assume. I'm at the beginning of my business, at the beginning of my marriage, when I started having children. Sometimes I naturally did it, but now looking back, I'm like, if I'd have asked more questions, more clarifying questions, and got really good at that, it could have overcome a lot of heartache, a lot of fights, a lot of misunderstandings. We're doing really good at it now. Why? Because we went to therapy. Yeah. I hired a business coach, and so a lot of those principles apply to my marriage. And so on the way here, my husband and I were trying to talk about something, but I don't know where he was. It was a dead zone. I'm like, I don't hear you. And anyway, so I found that you got to get good at asking clarifying questions in any situation, so that you can understand. Just like we had this leadership meeting, and they were saying, we're going to have this end of the year party. I'm like, okay, let's back up a little bit. What's the purpose of this? Yeah. Are we wanting this? Are we wanting this? Oh, no one, they're just said, oh, we just need to spend some money. Yeah. But do you want a purpose to it, or does it matter?
You touched on something really cool that I love, and I believe it's in Atomic Habits by James Clear.
I just finished that the second time, and it was a whole new meaning.
Oh, it's so good.
Whole new meaning.
I read about 2 self-development books a week. Or I listen to them, because I listen to them on double speed, and then
Audible.
I absolutely love it. We don't have it's not like they're sponsoring this video or anything, but they're amazing. Just because I love being able to keep them going. But one of the things that he said, I believe, was people don't lack motivation, they lack clarity. I was like, oh my gosh, like
Yes.
that's so freaking true. Like to be, if you have a clear vision of where you want to go, it is so much easier to get up and get moving because you can see it, you know? I know that now. So I tried doing all of this 5 years ago at a company. It was called Big Bro Mentoring. You know, had the business name and the website, domain name and everything, but it just did not take off. I'll have to show you guys some of the videos that I recorded before. I showed Kayla and we were just laughing so hard. They were so bad. Which is good. I mean, you've got to start somewhere to be able to, you know, to move forward. I'm firmly believe in that principle of stumbling through in order to get to success. I mean, look at freaking babies. You know, they're banging their head against the wall and falling on their face.
Yeah, how many times do they fall?
Could you imagine if they fell the first time and they're like, nah,
Done.
I give up. I'm done. But they don't. They get up and they fall on their face again. They will fall on their face 10 times in a row until they can figure it out, you know. But when this time around, being able to have that clarity, I mean, the bridge strategy, the 5 building blocks that we've laid out, and the mission of what we're trying to accomplish with Bridging Divides is not something that I had before. I didn't have that clarity before, and so it is so much easier for me now to be able to move forward than before because I can see where I want to go.
Love that.
It's awesome.
Well, and you learn as you go, and you'll only receive what you're ready for. So
100%.
reading books, I've read Brene Brown's Daring Greatly 5 times.
Oh, you're telling me about that.
Every time I've read it, I'm like, this was in there. I wasn't ready to receive it.
So I love
I wasn't there yet.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
You're good.
Can you tell me about that book? Because we talk about books and all this other stuff, and we love them. We'll put all the books that we've mentioned. We'll try to put links in the description. But tell me about Daring Greatly. Who wrote it again?
Brene Brown.
Brene Brown. Okay. So tell me about that one. Why? What is or at least one of the kind of aha lessons from that book?
So what's interesting, to give you a little bit of background, why I was read that book was I went to a therapist, and she's like, I think you need to read Daring Greatly. I got it, and it stayed there for a while until, a few months after going to this therapist again. She's like, hey, did you get that book? I'm like, yeah. What are you thinking? I haven't read it yet. So then I'm like, okay, I need to read it. Well, we were talking a lot about shame. And I'm was learning to use my voice, because I wasn't using harmony and seeing all sides. I thought it was a weakness. Now I know I give a name to it. But what I learned in that book, a couple of things. Shame and guilt are 2 different things.
100%.
Shame is I am wrong. I am wrong. Where guilt is I did something wrong.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Because your shame is you're attaching it to your identity.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, no, I just made a mistake.
Exactly.
That's part of life. You've got to make those mistakes.
That she really talks a lot about that. And the other thing, how she named the book, I love this. I think it's Theodore Roosevelt, 1910 quote, where he talks about the man in the arena. Have you never heard of that?
I'm not familiar with it.
Oh my gosh. It's the longest quote.
Feel free to butcher it, but
I'll butcher it. Yeah. I even ordered it from Amazon. I want it on my wall. It's about the man who shows up. He's in the arena. He's fighting. He's marred. He's bleeding. But there's people on the outside just poking fun, right? But at least he's in the arena he's daring greatly. And so she shares some experience she's had where, you go online. How many haters have ever showed up? But they may have pseudo names. It's the cat in the hat, but you don't. Whatever, they don't have any posts, and so it made me empowered.
So brave,
yeah,
so brave of them.
So that's what a couple of things I've got from that book.
Oh, I love that. Now I'm gonna have to read it.
You are gonna have to read it again. Every time I go on a trip, I'm taking that book, and I'm like, wait. This was in there. I wasn't ready for it. So you will get things from it when you're ready to receive it and learn and grow from it. Like Atomic Habits. I read it, loved it. I'm like, oh, great. You need to attach a habit with something you're already doing. Well, the second time I read it, I heard goals are great in place, but if you don't have systems, I'm like, and that's what I've been working on. I'm like, how come I didn't hear that before? I wasn't ready to receive it.
You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Yes.
I love that quote.
Yes.
So much. And it is so true. I am a lazy person. Well, okay. People call me lazy. I like to call myself efficient. So I want to have it on a shirt that says I'm not lazy, I'm efficient. But why work harder than you have to? And when you put systems in place, that is what allows you to succeed with the least amount of effort. You got to have those systems in place.
I'm not good at some things, and so I have a virtual assistant, and she's reminding me, hey, did you send that out? Oh, thank you. Yes.
Oh yeah, my head's always in the clouds. So here's my jump in head first ADD brain. I'm like buying the book right now.
Yes. Oh, I love that book.
Greatly. Oh, Brene Brown.
It will always stay on my bookshelf.
Oh, it's in my library already. There we go. Yeah, I do I get the couple credits a month or whatever. Yeah, anyways.
This is what I do. I read a book. Oh, I'll listen to a book on Audible or even Spotify podcasts.
Yeah.
And if it's referred, whenever I listen to it and I'm like, oh, that's good enough. I buy it. And if there's a workbook, then I get it and then I mark it up. Because then I learn differently.
Ooh, I'll have to put a workbook with, because I'm writing a book right now.
I would do that.
I'm about
Atomic
15,000
Habits.
words in.
Atomic Habits has a workbook.
That's right. Yeah.
And I love that.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'll totally have to do that, because even though people might get the audio version, the workbook will be a good companion guide to it. Oh, learning stuff.
Yeah.
It's good. So we're approaching the end of our time here. I want to end it on what my favorite segment is, which is the Positivity Prize Fighter segment, which is all about, life is going to hit you in the face, knock you on your butt. And positivity for me, that's my number one strength. We talk about the Gallup-Clifton strengths, then number 5, is positivity is not sunshine and rainbows all the time. So a lot of times that smile's a grimace as you're gritting your teeth, getting through things. But positivity for me is getting up and continuing to fight because you know that it's still worth fighting for. So what is a time when life has knocked you on your butt, and how have you gotten up and had your own personal positivity prize fighting moment?
Probably a few times. And again, I'm tender on this one. Going through a divorce. I was married before and had a little girl that was 14 months old when I left. And that was one of the hardest things. But again, I had a great support system. I had a family that cared. A few friends that still were in my circle because the situation, I didn't have friends allowed or let in.
It's messy.
Yeah, it's messy, definitely. But I've learned a lot, and I've been able to give to others because of what I went through. So I can see the value there, but at the time it was just like I didn't have anything.
Hell.
Yeah, it was definitely hell. Beat down, beat up, in very sense of every way. Yeah. So I was grateful to a good support system that I could go back to where I didn't think. Long story, but we don't have time for that. But that was a rough point. But again, seeing the value of how I could help somebody else not get in that situation.
How did you have the strength to reach out to people? Because we talk about having a support system and everything, but I think so often when we're going through things, we don't want to reach out. How did you overcome that?
Well, luckily
fear?
enough, it wasn't because I reached out. It's because they reached out to me, a sister, and saw things and just made me aware, come back to my true self of, this isn't right, Nora. And so that's where it started, like, oh,
That's beautiful. Thank
and
you
then
so much.
And then a brother that seriously just got me out of the situation. Middle of the night, let's go, and fought for me.
Wow.
Yep.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I know that that's a very raw experience, but that's what this is all about. You know, we hear about this amazing business success that you had and all this, you know, these accomplishments that you've had. But I think that a lot of us, myself included, don't realize the struggles and the pain that we've all gone through, and that you can succeed. You can succeed despite the struggles that you are going through. And if you're somebody that's watching and you see somebody that is suffering, it is not overstepping your bounds to ask if they're okay, to step in, to see where you can help them. So please ask for help and ask people if they need help. So thank you so much for sharing that. I have absolutely loved our time together on this podcast, and I know you and I have connected over a lot of different things, and so I'm happy and excited that we're able to kind of share this with everybody else. And so we'll go ahead and wrap that up. And guys, thank you so much for being here again. And remember that it is not just business, it is all personal. Love you guys.